Oh no.
Hi, welcome back. This is Linda's Investing, and we actually pair all three channels. Dylan and Jack is here, and we are actually this is our first live
Yeah.
uh, for all of us three together. So bear with us while we figure out how to do this simultaneously. And today we're going to talk about what would be done, like what kind of since we've been investing for the last three at least for me, 3 years. I know Jack longer. But what would go back and do it again, or what we would not do again as well?
Yeah. No, I think that's perfect. Just like thinking of the people that were like us just a few years ago, looking at everybody on the other side that's already got properties and, they're getting cash flow, building equity and stuff like that, and just looking for the best way to get started. I wanted to say this one's really for those people that are trying to get started in 2025, 2026, essentially.
I think it would be fun to start with like what wouldn't do again, as opposed to what we should do, right? I
Yeah.
think one of the things that comes to mind for me would be like what was the first mistakes, the assessment of taxes, the correct assessment of taxes prior to moving when you're buying a property and then you're looking at rental properties. It's very county dependent and also state dependent and how much you calculate taxes. Like for example, in California, your taxes don't change. Like you're pretty much maxed out to 1.19%. Oh, even when you're buying rental properties, which makes it like something that you wanna look into. But I know, for example, in Indiana, your tax rate effectively changes to 2%, and it's different when your reassessment triggers. So it could trigger every 3 years. It could trigger upon sale. It just really depends. So you don't know when the new tax bill is going to kick you in. I believe I thought I was under impression it was going to kick in after 2 years, but it triggered after the sale of my first rental. And then so when that happened, it definitely changed in my numbers. And I think that was not something that I foresee to happen like right away.
Yeah, I know taxes were definitely a mistake that I made, and just that uh, assuming that they weren't going to completely go up to the 2% right away, like 2% of purchase price right away, and that it would be more of a gradual thing. Where in Indiana they actually do a sales review, and they'll reassess your property at, if not a little bit over, your purchase price, and then they reassess it every single year, at least where I live. So property taxes keep going up every single year. Um, it's been very fun to deal with. Um, I would say another mistake I made was going and buying like higher end appliances instead of one thing I didn't even think of until somebody suggested it to me, and this is actually more of a recent thing, is going and buying like used or like scratch and dent appliances that you can get for a fraction of the price of a brand new appliance. So I was spending like 3,500 plus on everything that you need for a kitchen, like a fridge, stove, microwave, vent hood, everything like that, where I could have probably got away with spending like 2,100 or maybe even a little bit less to outfit the whole kitchen the same way. And it wouldn't have made a difference to the people that are actually living in the property because they're not really expecting like high end Samsung appliances or like a rental property, but um, I mean, there's tons of instances of that. And I think that's something that people that are getting into it really need to be cognizant of because there are a lot of ways that you can spend way more money than you should when you're first doing rehabs. And then we learn, at least I slowly learned over time, like, hey, I burned a lot of money on that one. I shouldn't have bought that, you know, the life proof flooring. There's tons of other LVP brands that are a lot cheaper and they're not like, I don't know, $4 or $5 a square foot before installing it. Jack, you got anything that's screaming out to you as like a mistake that beginners often make?
Yeah. So like for me, my first biggest mistakes were I didn't have adequate reserves, so that was a huge one. And another thing I didn't really think a whole lot about was I'm not sure how your markets are, but I didn't really factor in the hills here. So like even on like my second property, I have to do uh, at least a two-tier retaining wall in the back, or sorry, the front, and potentially a retaining wall in the back still. And it's just I wouldn't say I ever regretted buying my second property because it's pulled me out of some bad situations with it being always rented and stuff. But at the same time, I don't know at what point it's going to actually make money. Like it's always kind of been everything it's made has gone right back into it, more or less.
Yeah, I think I was talking about that just yesterday on how like even though it's been 3 years, I have not been able to get any profit out of my properties, and it's self-inflicted because I kept moving from project to project. So like basically whatever cash flow I make, it's redistributed and to the next property. So it just makes I guess the 5 year suck really a reality for me. But I know also that I should have slowed down. Like I took it very slow for the first 2 years, and then the third year I just ramped up. And even though I kept hearing everybody else in the community saying like slow down or you should definitely take your time. It was just like exciting to just keep going forward.
Yeah, I'd imagine that the ADU that you just completed is going to be the first one that actually you see as like a major impact in your, your daily life financially.
Yeah, most probably, yeah. But also, like, I had debt on that EDU too, so not
Oh,
as much.
it's not as much.
Well,
I was thinking it was just going to be paying your entire mortgage essentially between the ADU
Yeah.
and. Do
And
you do you have a triplex or is it just a house with an ADU? And I want to say there was other land to expand to multiple
oh yeah, so
outbuildings.
I have a single family corner lot, and then it's an detached ADU. And I was looking at possibly putting one on the front of the house, but then talking to architects, the only thing that I could do is to add an addition to the house, so it would be like a junior attached ADU,
Hmm,
and I don't like that, so I'm like holding off on that.
no, that makes sense. Um, Jack, I do think that the reserves are a big thing that a lot of us get really, really excited about buying a lot of real estate, and then we neglect the fact that we do need to keep adequate reserves because
mhm.
at least in my case, more recently when I was working on the 12 flex, I was lucky that I had the credit line because I spent like 40 or 50 thousand dollars in excess of what we had at the time to get the property fully renovated before increasing rents and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, making sure you have proper reserves. Credit line is not a reserve, by the way. That is something that I feel like a lot of newbies need to know before they go and get a credit line. You cannot count that as your reserves because if there's ever an instance where a bank goes and freezes the credit lines, then you're effed.
Not only
Like,
that, you get additional funding. I've been always asked to have like proof of reserves as well.
yeah, there was somebody that I was talking to recently. I want to say it was on like a podcast or something, and they said during 2008 that they actually got. Oh no, it was in the Gen Z accountability group yesterday. That's what it was. Didn't see you guys there. I'm just messing with you. But he was saying during 2008 they froze his credit line, and he had two rentals, and he was like had like put part of the down payments on those credit line, like on that credit line. So the only thing he could do at that point was just slowly pay off the credit line, but he couldn't add anything to it. They just froze it, and then when it was paid off, they canceled it.
Hmm.
So I could see a situation where somebody's kind of banking on that to, you know, help them out during a renovation process or something like that, and then they just get stuck in like limbo with a property that they don't have any money to finish renovations on because they've gotten a credit line, but then they got the credit line canceled. I don't know.
I wonder if it's cancel, like turn off, and then you're supposed to pay back, or does it get amortized and then you cannot draw any more from it?
So I asked about that because I put quite a bit on my credit line, and I was like, you know, I worry about this like ever being canceled, and they just immediately asked me to pay off the credit line. And he was like, no, at least in I'm sure there's instances where they do that, but at least in his instance, they just didn't allow him to draw any more from the credit line. And then they just made him like slowly pay it off, just like normal payments instead of, you know, just saying payments are due right now. Because I feel like your bank is still your partner on your properties, and like they are financially impacted if you're financially impacted. Maybe not to a large degree until you're a bigger investor, but you know, I feel like they don't want to do things that are going to intentionally harm people that use their products. So I don't feel like they would immediately call it due.
I would. It won't also worry about the sub too. Also, for that same reason, like do and sell clause, when they do call the loan, if they, you know, if it happens, which it has happened, like when you go on sub to blogs and stuff or Facebook groups, you do hear about it very rarely, but you do hear about it, and they do say that they don't expect you to pay off the loan right away. They give you like 3 to 6 months to get that back.
Oh,
And so, I mean, like that's better to have some kind of exit strategy when that happens, if that happens.
yeah.
So
No, I can
there's some comments on the side. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. I just finally got them up on the computer. Do you want to go through a couple of them?
Oh, sweet. I didn't even.
We're new at this.
So who is it?
Yeah, we got Frank in here, and Flavio, and Mark. I didn't even see these.
That his Gary property got broken into while they're waiting for a tenant.
Yeah, so we have a investor club or group text message with Mike and Angelo and Property, and then so we do give updates and people that are on the ground on Gary. They did mention that there was a couple men seen breaking into empty abandoned houses, but I didn't know Frank had an incident.
Oh, they broke into one of his houses while the renovations were being done?
Seems like that's what he's saying. A
Oh,
property got broken into while waiting for a tenant.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up on the chat. I didn't even see that there were people watching us live. We're just doing our thing like we normally do.
I'm surprised that they let Simon and Zuber's thing.
Oh, is Uber doing something right now?
Yeah, he has Simon the Uneducated Economist on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we jumped in, Dylan, just before you changed the time. So.
Oh, you jumped into that one?
For a bit.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had a client that was supposed to meet me at like a specific coffee shop. Yeah. I put the address in the description, and then he was like, so I went to the wrong one because I just looked up that coffee shop and went to the closest one, and I was like, yeah, that's why I said Midtown, not like this other one, but it's all good. We got everything sorted out. I just didn't want to interrupt your guys' schedule if you had a busy day or something like that.
No, Jack already went to mass, so he's good.
Yeah, you said you went to a separate one.
Yeah,
I'm going to out you here.
Early.
Huh?
It's nice going early. You don't have to. You don't have that other person next to you jabbing you the whole time. Like, see, I told you. Yeah. So what do you think of mass afterwards? I don't know. I missed half of it.
No. I don't know. Well, I'm glad you got to go early and get that sorted, and then we'll talk about mistakes here. I I would say one mistake all of us tend to fall into as real estate investors is like you get really excited and then you want to just keep going really fast and not paying attention to like some of the things that you've actually done. Because like I don't know, I've been meeting with a few people recently that are wanting to get started because I'm an agent, and so I'm helping some of like the newer investors around here try to find their first properties or house properties, a house hack and stuff like that. And from my opinion, what I've done is like not that much, and I'm just like getting started. But then you talk to some people that have, never done anything yet, or maybe they have one house, or maybe they have two houses, and then they look at what you've done and they're like, well, you've accomplished a lot in a very small amount of time. And I'm not saying just in my case, but like in all of your cases, like everybody that goes to the ORAP events, like most people I've talked to at least tend to have more than 2 or 3 properties, or they're rapidly buying things. So like at least the event for me was something to look back and be like, oh shoot, we have all actually done like a lot of things to get here. We're all working really hard and getting these things done. None of us acknowledge it though, because we all look at the thing that's like 10 steps ahead of where we are instead of the step you're at right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We're always looking ahead instead of like slowing down and see how far we come.
Yeah.
And then we're like living for tomorrow almost.
Yeah. Which is fine, but like as far as like continuing to build a portfolio and focusing on that bigger thing, but like if you look at 3 years you built, I think on your bigger pockets podcast you said it was like 7,000 something per month in cash flow, but right now you're reinvesting all of it, so you're not really seeing any of it. But like that's pretty crazy that in a 3-year time you built like essentially $100,000 a year in free cash flow.
It sounds big, but it doesn't feel big
right now.
Yeah. I think also, I don't know if this is going to be controversial, but the overconsumption of education in a way, it stresses me out. Like I like real estate. I feel like I'm passionate about real estate. And then so I think when Jack and I first talked about it, I'm like, dude, what do you listen to? What podcast do you listen to? And I was at the point of like, I don't listen to music. I don't watch movies anymore. All I hear and all I watch is YouTube, and it gives you motivation at the same time, but it also poses a pressure on your back of like you just have to keep going like no matter what. And then so I think that also it's finding that balance of like maybe I should step away from the computer and go take a walk and go hang out with friends in real life in person, and not just put so much pressure on yourself to keep moving forward.
No, I can agree with that. It's kind of what I was getting at earlier. Is people just like to get really too into it. I mean, I have a lot of opinions on the education space. I know we have educators in our group. We also have people that have like spoken out against a lot of education stuff. But I just saw that Mark was into this 6'7" joke. Do you guys know what this is? Because I know it's really popular with the young kids today, but I don't know what this means.
6'7"?
Yeah.
No.
It's nothing.
Really? Okay, because I see like a lot of memes about it, but I feel like I'm getting to that point where I'm old enough where I'm not in with like all the memes that are being created right now.
No. It is it comes from a song, and somebody says a J67 or something like that, and people started like picking it up, and it doesn't really mean anything. There's no culture behind it, but it's a cool thing. So
Okay. That's what it is. But yeah, I do think there's a lot of overconsumption of education, and to the point where I feel like some people are more excited to consume the education than to actually do the thing that it takes to actually be successful. And not just in real estate. I see this in business too, where people will just like read and read and read. And I'm like, you can read all day long, about how to ride a bike, but at some point you're going to need to get on the bike and start going and fall down a few times, or you're never going to learn.
Hmm. Same with me. I'm like the kind of person that if it's, I'm repeating the same thing, I'm regurgitating the same information, and like I'm foreseeing the answers that the questions are being asked, then okay, that means I have enough knowledge to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I just like to get like a really surface level idea of the thing I'm going to be doing. It depends on how much money is involved. But if there's
Right.
not a lot of money, if there's not a lot of money involved and we're just testing something really quick, I'm just like, okay, I get the gist of it. Like, now let's try it and go and see if it works. And if it doesn't work, let's figure out why. I'm not afraid of losing money to like learn, but when it comes to some of these real estate investments, you should have a pretty good idea of the things that are going into it. But there's only so many times you can watch people talking through a renovation project until you're like, okay, maybe I actually need to plan out my own renovation projects. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also I think that I go with the mentality and like even if I'm trying something new, if let's say it's a lot of money, if I lose all this money, would I be okay? Like would I be able to build that back up, in 1 year, 2 years, or whatever? Then if the answer is yes, then I'm going to go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Mark is being our support in the background. He's putting in your channel in the chat.
I know.
Uh, Thank you, Frank. We're not talking about your age. It's actually the Gen Z group which I think I am part of that group, but I'm like on the edge of it,
You are,
and
you are.
it's the people younger than me that are coming up with these memes that I'm not understanding anymore.
I had to look it up because it
Yeah.
was on TikTok.
Oh, you had to look it up?
Yeah.
Yeah. People are going through it every day. Yeah. No, I agree, Bustin. Um, it is good to see other people going through it, but I just wouldn't want to prevent myself from doing something because I'm so focused on like watching some of the things, if you know what I mean. Like I feel like when I go to the local RIAs and stuff like that, everybody just likes to come there and talk to us about buying real estate and getting into real estate, but they don't actually do it. That's why I thought it was really nice when I went to the ORAD event. And, one of the first things that Michael asked is he's like, hey, how many of, maybe it wasn't one of the first things, but I want to say it was pretty early on. He was like, how many of you actually own a property? And like 90% of the room raises their hand. I'm like, okay, so these people actually do things. Like, where I feel like you can go to a lot of those and you'll like, for example, my local RIA, I'll go there and I'll say, the last how many people own a property just to like get a feel of the room. And it'll be like 10% of the people are raising their hands.
So why don't we talk about that for a second? That's
Mm-hmm.
a big topic in ORAT where people are asking, where do I go to meet new friends to get, as adults, it's not like children where you're forced to be around so many people and your coworkers you already spend enough time with and you don't really want to see them again.
Yeah, I would say the best place to at least meet people that are doing the thing you want to be doing if your thing is real estate is just going to the local real estate investor associations. Seems like every city or town, not every city or town, but every state has them. Like if you live in, I don't know, LA, just search up like LA real estate investor associations. You'll probably get a bunch of them and they'll probably try to sell you stuff while you're there. But if you go there and you're just wanting to learn and meet people, you can go there, learn and meet people. And I know like mine, if you're not a member, it's like $20 to go to an event, but it might be worth it to just see if that's even your crowd to just pay the $20 and go listen to them speak and then talk to everybody and see if you actually want to be involved in that.
Yeah, I agree. I've met some people, like you said, like there's a lot of things that are being sold, like courses or mentorships or syndication partnerships and stuff like that. But you will find some people in your area, if you're investing in your backyard, those are like legit contacts that you're gonna be using. Like there's solar panel people, there's like HVAC people, there's contractors, and people that are like trying to advertise their business. Most of them, if I'm not mistaken, are new businesses. They're trying to get connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like at your local RIAs, there will be a lot of like wholesalers. So if you've never talked to wholesalers before, you can talk to some of the people there. Those are probably going to be the either the ones with the booths are going to be the more established people that have actually been wholesaling for quite a while. Generally, they're going to be known by everybody in the RIA, whereas like the people that are walking around are going to be the wholesalers that really haven't been established, haven't been doing it for a long time. Just at least from my experience going to these events. Some of the lenders that are at the events, they might be good or might not be good to work with. I feel like if you're having to, not that if you have to pay to be at an event as a lender, that you're probably not the best, but like talk to them, but also talk to other lenders, because I don't know. I worked with one of the lenders at the event that I went, like at one of the RIAs that I went to, and I had a pretty difficult experience. But I was also a 1099 contractor at the time, so that convoluted the equation as well. But I mean, you can just search up on meetup.com too for real estate groups. I'm trying to think of anything else that I've done before. Go on Bigger Pockets and post something. Actually, go on the ORAT school, look on the map and see if there's other people that live around you. Because I at least put myself on the map. I don't know if you guys put yourself on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see in the school community if there's any of us around you that would be willing to meet up and go get coffee or something like that and talk to you about real estate.
You could also potentially use your local Facebook group as well. And
yeah.
And try to find like smaller meetups. So like, for example, Dion's always talking about the local Toa meetup, and like it sounds like a big meetup, but there's only like 10 people. And that's really the only way you're going to find smaller ones like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not acknowledge any comments from Costco in this live, just saying.
No, did somebody say something about Costco?
Mark got a Ninja Creamy.
Oh, Ninja Creamy from Costco. Hey, Mark, I got one of those too, actually. I've used it like one time, and we've had it for like 6 months, so I don't think it was worth it.
Yeah, I think Suber was mentioning on one of his daily news that he's getting 50 grams of protein from like muscle milk, ice cream, Greek yogurt on his blender.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful idea. I don't want to clean it, so I just don't use it.
What's up,
Yasik?
Joining us now, Jasik.
What was that?
Yeah. Jasik hopped on and said hello. He's the head of the Butler Bruisers.
Oh yeah, Butler Night Crew.
Jasik is new to the community, but it feels like he's been there forever. I don't know.
Hey, what's up, Jen? Jen popped in the chat.
Hey. So easy.
It is easy. It is easy to clean, Mark. I'm just lazy. Like, especially if you put Oreos and stuff in there too with the muscle milk, and then you like freeze that, and then you blend it up, and then you gotta like take the blades and stuff apart. I'm just lazy, Mark. I would rather just drink the shake and then let the Ninja Creamy collect dust. Trying to think if there's anything else that like I've personally done that. I mean, there's tons of mistakes, but some of them just like sweep under the rug after a while. You know what I mean? You just forget about it.
Yeah, I think mistake that I continue to do is bookkeeping. So I'm not the best organized person in the whole world, but I usually hit the big things like, loan interest, taxes, keeping the receipts, keeping your closing disclosures, things like that. But as far as buying, the one thing that saves me is my property manager has like Buildium built in, and then I'm able to create reports. So the majority of the things, like I would say 98% of the things that are recorded for the properties are recorded through Buildium. But like there is the 2% of like things like school memberships that we pay, or when we went to ORAT and then stayed in a hotel, or when I go to Gary, like, do I save all of my meals tickets? I don't. Like that. Those things are just like missed and completely under the rug, and all of that compounds for sure. So missing on that bookkeeping.
Yasik said he's getting a ninja soft serve today. Nice. I am terrible at the accounting. In fact, we finished my filings, like my corporate filings, on the 14th of last month, and it's due on the 15th. And then I paid my personal taxes on October 15th, and it was like 7 p.m. and they are due on October 15th. So, I mean, I pushed it to the limit, and I'm also really bad about tracking all of the expenses. Like my accountant was like, "You didn't track mileage last year," and I'm like, "Yeah, I got a new phone and I forgot to install the mileage tracker, so I just never did it." If it wasn't for Home Depot with their ability to download receipts, I would have no receipts for all of the renovation projects that I do.
Yeah. How about Jack?
Do you?
What do you use for your rentals for tracking your expenses?
I usually use Excel, honestly, and I try to block out some like just an hour once a week to try and take care of it. And honestly, I think it's going to be one of the. So what I want is a program or something where I can just take a picture of it of the receipt and it just go in there. Because especially as I'm leaning more toward like doing doing everything else that I have going on, like switching to the businesses and stuff, and leaving the W-2. I want to make it more streamlined, and I honestly don't even want to be doing the books. I'm thinking about asking Cynthia to take care of the books. So I just wanted to be super quick, where I just take a picture, it uploads it, and just does it almost automatically. I'm trying to find a program that does that.
QuickBooks. Believe it or not, you can take a picture of your receipt and you can upload it directly to the transaction on QuickBooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't do it. I know you can do it, and my accountant tells me every time she talks to me that you can, in fact, do that, and I do not do it.
What I know about QuickBooks, I never used it, but it's a huge learning curve of how to use the actual software because it's meant for like multi-millionaire companies. Like it can be as big as like you're managing the financial department for Disney. QuickBooks.
Yeah, I would say even at my level where I'm at right now with the two properties, it's really helpful to have QuickBooks because we just have so much different stuff going on, and I can split them into like two different property accounts, like within my QuickBooks account. And I have like the 1099 contracting stuff I do, and I also have the transactions as an agent. So those all just get funneled into the same QuickBooks account to track everything. It makes my life a little bit easier. Oh, I did see Jen's message about joining mentorships, thinking you're taking action. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about though. Like people will join those and they'll just like keep going and like learning new things from people, and it's just like the education is the part that everybody's paying attention to, but really like nothing happens until you actually take action and do something. I feel like this is the part where I would sell a course right here.
Yeah, they're gonna ask you to respond to this comment though.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, it's. I think I would rather have 20 that are like, or okay, even right now where I'm at with the 15. If I had 5 that were just like paid off, and I just didn't have any headaches from dealing with the like the property at all, that would be amazing. But yeah, I would not aspire to have like the 1,000, 10,000 units that some investors talk about having, even though those are like in syndication funds. It's never like their own properties unless they're like really, really big. Yeah, I think I would be good with like 10 or 20 units instead of trying to get like a few hundred or a few thousand. Uh, Maybe grow it up bigger and then sell it down. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of different ways to attack this. Growing too fast is problematic, though.
Yeah, I think we have somebody in school that was trying to acquire more, but the advice he got from Cody was like, maybe you should tune into your portfolio and pay off some debt that you
Yeah.
have.
Well, I think the scary thing there is like everything seems like a good idea to continue expanding the portfolio, and you never know when that limit is that you hit that ends up causing everything to implode. And building a real estate portfolio one time is already hard enough. You don't want to do it twice. So I would rather do the slow and steady, just build the portfolio over time. And, maybe you get up to 50 units or something like that over the course of a decade instead of spending like 5 years building something really quick and then blowing it up and then having to redo the portfolio all over again. That just doesn't sound awesome.
Yeah.
Not to mention, if any of those get foreclosed, you're limited from buying properties for what is it, 7 years?
I'm not sure. Is it?
Yeah,
Is it
I think it's set. Yeah, conventional financing. I think you have to wait 7 years to get another property if you get foreclosed on one. So that's another factor. You're going to be doing non-QM loans, which are going to have higher interest rates, which is going to make growing the portfolio the second time even that much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm sure there's some like lenders that can do something, but I'm pretty sure like that's a Fannie and Freddie rule. I don't think that's just like lender specific.
Jack, can you think of any other mistakes that you would go back and be like, don't do that, Jack?
Honestly, so for me, something I implemented and is I implemented it after my last purchase going forward, but we're no longer going to use home inspectors because in this area, it's just we can't find a good home inspector, and I'm tired of having tens of thousands of dollars that should have been caught completely missed. So so instead of having a home inspector, we're just going to pay all the professionals to come and do an inspection. So like we're going to have a roofer do a roofing inspection and a plumber do a plumbing inspection, and we're going to have a GC look over the general bones and the structure of the building, and we're going to just overall have all the professionals look at their area of expertise instead of using a home inspector.
Interesting. Yeah. How do the mortgage companies look at that though? Because I feel like a lot of the time they want the home inspection for them to be able to see the condition of the property, not necessarily for you to understand the condition of the property. Do they accept those like reports from plumbers and everything like that?
Yeah, because they're considered professionals, and
Okay.
if you look in there, it says even GC is allowed. So I can actually take all the quotes and the bids and stuff because I can get quotes and use that as a negotiating tool as well.
Okay. So you get essentially free inspections.
Sort of.
I mean, maybe it's $100 for them to show up, but it's not $1,000 for an inspection. Like, I feel like a lot of what I see is if somebody's coming there to like quote up the whole thing, generally they're wanting to earn the job. They're not wanting to just come there and charge you $100, $200 to look at your property.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Since I'm not in my backyard, I feel like I still feel comfortable with an inspector. But I think the more that I buy houses, I guess the less helpful it is. But I still like to see because the inspector that I use is like 360 view every single room, like ceiling to the cracks of the floor, and then the attic the same way, and then the roof the same way, and then from the top, like all the pictures from the roof as well. I think from the inspection, I've been able to get into a lot of like attic issues and electrical issues.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that I wouldn't be able to get that from a contractor, but I feel like because of the level of detailed documentation of the inspection, then so when I refer that to the seller and I ask, because I always ask for credits after inspection, always. Like I don't offer closing costs. I don't ever ask for closing costs to be paid up front. I
Mm-hmm.
always ask them to pay them afterwards because it's less money out of my pocket, right? When I close on the property. But most times I'm able to do that because of the level of the documentation from the inspector.
That makes sense.
So Mikey has
See,
a good question here. He's
Mhm.
asking, do you have a favorite concept from the ORAT teachings that you invest live by to this day,
live by.
or live by to this day?
I'm just messing with you, man. I'll let one of you go first on this one.
So I think that the thing is realizing that going slow is actually moving fast. Okay, so like that's probably the biggest one, and you can see it in everyone's story that's a part of the ORAC community. You know, Zuber honestly is probably the fastest moving, but even he, in retrospect, wasn't really that fast. He was just fast because of his income level.
I think a thing that I personally like is generally a lot of the groups that you'll be involved with are either one way or the other. So, for example, if you're in like the sub 2 communities, like everybody only wants to do sub 2. If you're in an STR community, everybody's heavy on just doing STRs. Whereas if you're in the ORAC community, not saying there aren't other communities like this, but everybody has everybody has a slightly different way that they run their portfolios. Like me and Lynn don't run our portfolios the same way, or you and Lynn, you and Frank probably don't run your portfolios the same way. Like everybody has something different that they've done to get to where they are, and being able to learn little pieces from everybody instead of saying like, oh, we don't like STRs because XYZ, instead of trying to find something that the STR people do that we can implement on the long-term rental side to maybe get more cash flow. Like where you look at maybe like a midterm rental, or like a, where you're having people stay for a few months at a time, or just, different quality of things that you can put in the property to make the tenants appreciate the property even more, even if they're staying as a long-term renter.
Yeah, I think one of the teachings that I think I heard only from Orat was like not fire your friends. I mean, fire your friends, but also be around the people that you want to emulate. So,
Mm-hmm.
me like offering to be leading the Friday out of state investing call was like me trying to like get around more people and be more active in school, and alongside also in personal life, like what Sugar says, like if you want to be fit, like get around 5 people that are like always working out, always doing challenging themselves physically. And then so like I don't know why that didn't click before. And I'm like, I signed up for a boot camp kind of thing program, and then now I have like people that are incredibly fit that I'm like, oh my god, I have to like keep up. And then things like that, which before like when you think opening my own business, now I want to be around other women that are opening their own business. And then so I guess that's a message that I've heard since I joined the community, and I'm just trying to lean into it.
Yeah, I actually saw something like right before we did this call that Zuber had posted. It was a Hormozy thing, which, it's a topic sometimes for some people. Alex Hormozy is, because not everybody is like believes in that whole like work culture thing. But I think it really clicks with like what you said, where he says nobody that is more fit than you is going to judge you for changing your diet. Nobody that has more money than you is going to judge you for budgeting. Like it's always people that are envious of a situation or want you to not be better than them that are going to complain when you do something that is bettering yourself. So fire your friends that are, of these toxic habits that you don't want to be part of and don't want incorporate into your daily life. Don't trust anyone that doesn't shop at Costco. That's what Mark says.
Mark, I don't go to your lives and bully you.
This is our first live, Mark.
I know, right?
Yeah, he says that should be, I will say, you should ask somebody, even if you don't shop at Costco, somebody with a Costco membership to buy you some of the Uber cards for the ORAT event, because you can get a 20% discount on Costco.com to get Uber cards. So, if you get 3 or 4, that's 60, 80 bucks off, and you can have a few $100s in Uber cards. I don't know. Not that you need that many for the ORAT event, but I think I bought like 2 or 3 last year.
Mm.
I'm not sure, Jack. But
I don't think so
anything,
because I'm hosting it.
I don't know. I think we're good for now, at least. What about property managers? I feel like that's a place that a lot of people make mistakes by choosing the first person that they talk to. Can you give us some insight, since you're the out-of-state investor? Where do people make mistakes a lot of the time with finding the right property manager or selecting their property manager?
I think I've been lucky because on my first property, I did have like no problems whatsoever. So I guess I don't know if this is a blessing in disguise or it was a thing that set me. Like I really didn't talk to my property manager even monthly when I had my first property because it rented the next week that I got it. And then there was no repairs, no nothing whatsoever for 1 year. So I wasn't like incredibly communicative. But it was when I got my second property that there was some painting, there was some carpet replacement, and there was more things that were going on with the property that I felt in the beginning she wasn't as communicative as I would have liked her to be. And then so because she was a referral from other people, like multiple people, already I just went and basically called those people and be like, she's not really responding. And then they went in and advocated for me because they had more rentals with that property manager. And I'm not saying that that is the way to go, but I think since communication styles are quite different from everybody. For example, I'm somebody that loves texting and emailing. Like I rarely will call you on the phone like randomly, or I would email you. I'll call you there at 9 a.m. So I don't bug you because I think I don't know, I'm a millennial, so calls are kind of intrusive in my view. But that level of communication is preferred in my market. Like nobody answers a text more so than a call. So it used to be very hard for me to like be like, oh, let me get her on the phone right now. But I'm over that now. Like I understand that's they have 400 properties, and then so my email can be lost between 25 emails that they get like every 3 hours. I'm not sure. So
Yeah.
things like that. And then delineating the lines of communications. I will call you every week on Fridays at 11 a.m. and we'll spend 5 minutes if nothing else is like pressing. If you're doing a rehab, I will expect pictures of ever since something is completed. If repairs are done, I will expect the receipt from the contractor. If new things are purchased, I will expect the invoice from the person that went and got it. Things like that. So delineating like the expectations that you have, as opposed to just expecting the property manager to like, oh, she's gonna call me when something goes wrong. Like, no, most likely it goes into the report. Like, if your property manager doesn't have software where you can track your expenses, the things that were done to the property, or the work orders that were submitted to them, then I don't think I would go with a property manager that doesn't have that, because I'm supposed to manage the management, so I would definitely log in almost daily to see what happened on my properties. And I don't know if that's something that every landlord is doing, especially when they think everything is hand off, like passive. I would definitely question if a cleaning, for example, costed more than $250. Like that's not acceptable in my view. I don't know if that's the right way, but that's how I manage.
Yeah.
So here's the thing I'm wondering lately. So what do you guys feel about, like, for example, Hemlane, or even, excuse me, or even if, for example, if you had like an AI bot, because they're getting better, do kind of like the texting and stuff, and pre-program it to reach out to
the different handyman stuff. So like the tenant text that's saying, "Hey, the toilet is running," for example, and it just automatically reaches out to either a handyman or the plumber, depending on the severity, and you train it to do that. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that's something that could be facilitated pretty easily. You could also, I think some of the softwares even have like a contractor option where you can include the contractors in your communication channels. So like if there's a plumbing repair that comes up and you have a go-to person for that, I can't remember which one was it, Dion, or does he just introduce them directly to the property? Like, this is my plumber. If you have any plumbing issues, let him know. Like, is that how he handles it, or is there actually something inside of Hemlane that he uses to like connect the communication channels besides like just a text?
I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I was I was thinking about that. Just so you have like the lines of communication, like in a data history. But I mean, you could with the AI have it backed up to an email, which would then take care of that.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty easy too if you just wanted to set up like Make or Zapier integrations with like if tenant sends text, then use like an LLM to read the text, and if you see the word plumbing in there, then send a text to your plumber. That should be pretty easy to facilitate if you're not like a person that codes a lot. And I would say even if you are a person that codes a lot, you should just do it that way because you can just like draw lines to connect these different tools together, and you'd be able to like connect like texting, like Google Voice texting um, with Chat GPT or something like that to respond, and then you can just send a message off to whoever it is that can resolve that issue. And I'd imagine you just have a ton of keywords that would guide the response. So like if they said the word sink, if they said dishwasher, if they said plumbing, leak, those kind of things, I would think all of those would be categorized in one thing that reads and then sends a text to your plumber with the tenant's previous message, and then just say, hey, this was sent from my tenant, could you check into this, and then here's their number or something like that. I don't think that'd be hard to facilitate, and it'd probably save
No.
time.
I also think that it depends on like the kind of tenants that you have, because I'm sure you guys also get like the people that want to pay via check or cash, in person,
Yep.
that they don't want any AI bots or anything like that. There has to be accommodations for those people too.
Yeah, so those people, just a quick hack, if anybody doesn't like picking up cash or checks, just pick your bank account, like where your bank account's going to be with a local community bank that is close to where this property is, and just tell the tenants, here's my account number, here's the name of my company, just give this to the teller and tell them how much you're depositing and what apartment number it's for. They'll deposit it for you into my account, and then I'll get a receipt that shows the apartment number, how much was deposited, and so on the day. And then you don't have to mess with using the rental property software that we use. um, I did see that Bill said he's had an issue with Hemlane, like bad experience with them. I've never used them before. I just use RentReady. It's probably not the best software, but it is also extremely cheap. I think it's $12 a month.
financial firefighter saying that he uses Hamlin just for the communication part and switches and moves everything over to baseline or base lane. And you could honestly, for what we're talking about with the AI stuff, have do something similar with that. Have AI do the bulk of the communication and then switch everything over to base lane.
Hmm.
Yeah. I honestly thought Baselane was a banking platform. I've never used them before. Is it a property management software?
It seems so. It's, I think, by Bigger Pockets is one of the sponsors.
Oh, okay. So they're getting other people besides Rent Ready sponsoring Bigger Pockets. Nice.
Yeah. I also saw the Real Estate Rookie, the host, the lady, she is promoting Turbo Tenant on her Instagram. And I think I
Oh,
see a lot of people promoting more Turbo Tenant recently.
if I get enough properties or I get enough people that would be willing to use it, I'll just create my own PMS and make it cheaper.
Breaking news, guys. Breaking news. We're changing the
Yeah,
title of this.
yeah. New property management software company.
Yeah.
We could just make it cheaper than everybody else and just try to include some stuff. I don't know. I don't think it'd be that hard to make. I was looking into how, because all of those platforms, they use something like Stripe, for example, to create an account on behalf of all of the landlords. Like whenever they sign up, when you sign up for Rent Ready, they create a Stripe account with your business information for you automatically. And then that's how all of your payments are processed separately. It's, I just have to look into how that's set up. But as long as I know I can figure it out, but figure that out and create the PMS. If it's difficult, it might be worth paying the $144 a year. But I'm thinking that 144 is probably going up substantially over the next few years, just because every software company seems to start out low and then they just ramp it up, or they have a bunch of add-ons that you can get that make it really expensive.
Mm,
Looks like Jen uses Baselane as well.
nice. So on the other flip side of the question, what would you go back and say to yourself when you were starting to invest to actually do?
Mm. Don't always look for home runs. I feel like that, because you listen to so many of these people that teach you how to buy properties that always talk about like your property needs to have a minimum of this percent cash on cash return. It needs to be like this. But if you just get a base hit, you're going to get the experience, and it's almost worth it to spend that money to learn the experience. Don't buy a negative cash flowing property. That's not what I'm telling anybody to do, but buy a property that'll allow you to learn. And if it's a duplex, for example, you can live in one side, rent out the other, and it doesn't matter if you break even. More often than not, it's going to be easier to find a duplex that doesn't break even, and you can live in one side, and maybe you're paying $500, $600, maybe even $1,000 a month. But if rent was $2,000 a month, or your mortgage payment was $2,000 a month, and you sold your house, and now you're paying like $500 to $1,000 a month, that's a nice swing, because that 1,000 or 1,500 in difference, it's a post-tax 1,000 to 1,500, which is like what, 30% more than that. So it's a really big deal in like saving along your journey, right? I think that is how I would recommend people get started, because I was always like, if it doesn't hit an 8% cash on cash, I'm not buying the property. Whereas I ran into plenty of properties that were like a 7% cash on cash that could have grown into the kind of property I would like to have. And I could have been house hacking it, spending like $300 or $400 a month living there, as opposed to, completely breaking even. Because that was my objective when I was first looking for duplexes. Like, I didn't want to live there if I wasn't breaking even. And I think that's the wrong way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
I think I have a system now, like when I do buy something on the market, of like having my realtor walker, having my property manager walker, have a contractor walker, right? Then when we do go into escrow as an inspection, but I think that before I didn't involve my property manager as much. in the beginning. So like she would right off the bat tell me like this is going to be a little harder to rent. And then so I didn't like on the first few properties, like even though it didn't took, I think then the fourth property took a long time to rent. So that's something that I wish I'd done better. So do involve everybody that's like boots on the ground on that particular property
That makes sense. I mean,
from the get-go.
yeah, if you only incorporate the realtor, what you have to look at where their incentive is. Their incentive is for you to close the transaction. For the property manager, their incentive is to get the place leased so they can, collect on the fees, but then also they don't have a headache property to deal with because they don't want that. Like, I have a property manager around me that he works in my brokerage with me, and I can just send him an address of a property and he'll tell you if he'll manage it or not.
Yeah.
Just the zip code. That's all you need.
No, for me, it's like street dependent for sure.
Yeah, it is the street too. It's like it's on Bradley Ave in this zip code. And then he'll be like, yeah, I'll manage that one. Or, yeah, I'm not even going there at night. And if they won't go there at night, you probably should have known it. What about you, Jack?
I forget what the initial question was.
What would you ask your new, like you or yourself as a new investor, what would advise them to do from the beginning?
So if I was like giving myself advice in the beginning, one of my biggest flaws, and this was kind of a detriment to me, was I held my buy box too tight. Instead of like opening it up to where it is now, if I would open it up, we probably would have been done by now. But instead, I had so tight this very small area, and I just because I was so focused on what Zuba was saying about like, oh, you need to focus on only these few zip codes. Well, that's great for his area, but like to get up to like 40 some rentals potentially in your buy box, I have to in my area include like 10 zip codes because like the investing out of the city, I don't have a ton of options. So like where I was initially, there would only be like 7 a year. That was it, and that really slowed me down too much.
I have one for you, Jack, because I know that you rather do all the work yourself. And so because of that, you only have so many hours free during the week. And because of that, that's taking you longer to turn over a unit, for example, to like
Yeah.
look at your hourly rate and how much money would you save by using somebody else, like an electrician, a plumber, or a handyman, as opposed to like waiting until you have time off in the weekend or when you do have your days off to get to the work and then turn over the unit faster.
I think along with that, one of the things I'm going to start doing is like there's certain things that contractors go kind of slow with. Just do that stuff and then have them do the finishing, and that way they can do the inspections at the same time. And that will, because like if they have to like for example rewire a whole house, okay, it's going to take them longer to get the project done. But if I run all the wires and all they have to do is just connect everything, they can do the inspection while they're doing it and rewire the breaker box and be done in like a day.
I do feel like over time, though, your time will get more and more valuable, and you'll eventually not want to do all that stuff.
Oh, I definitely
Like even
agree
though
with
you do all the stuff yourself now, it just gets people like, okay, so like if you were doing $10,000 or $15,000 a month in free cash flow, and then they're like, do you want to go paint this rental and it can be done in a month, or do you want the team to paint the rental? It's going to cost you a few $1,000s, but you can have it done like in a couple days. Like,
Yeah.
knock it out. I'm ready to collect that rent. Yeah, I feel like it's all different stages. But with you having a handyman business, I feel like it's a little bit different because Frank does both too. Like he has his handyman business, but well, he has all out of state rentals, so he couldn't do it if he tried, I guess.
Yeah.
But it looks like Mark said that Base Lane is for banking for landlords and investors, but you can also collect rent there as well. I didn't know that. I'll have to check it out. But I think we pretty thoroughly covered all the topics. Of like what would be good for us to know a few years ago. So I think I'm pretty good here. You
Yeah.
guys are?
This is our first live, guys. So tune in next week. I'm not sure what day, but we'll let you know. It will be on our YouTube channel with the time out, and we'll see each other next week.
Awesome.